Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're gonna take a look at this bootleg KO Amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech Deadpool 2.0 version that I got from AliExpress. I've seen a lot of people online praising this KO for how good it is, and I wanted to check it out myself and see if it's true. I have to say that for a long time I wanted to get at least one of Revoltech figures just to mess around with its articulation, because this line has the craziest articulation range, and you guys know how much I love to pose my figures. But I never got to it because I prioritized the Black Series, Figure Arts and Mafex releases. I did get one Revoltech KO, and it was Iron Man, but that was a long time ago, before I even started this channel. And I remember having a lot of issues with that figure. It was not a good KO in my opinion. And to be honest, I've put it in a closet and haven't touched it for years. And so fast forward when I saw this guy and how cheap he was around 20 bucks or euros. I wanted to check him out, so I'm hoping to have a much better experience with this figure. But first, let's take a quick look at the box that is similar to the original, but there are some differences. For example, there is some text missing up here around the logo and down here where it says Deadpool version 2.0. Some of the text is also missing from the side of the box, and on the back the obvious thing missing are images of alternate heads in this yellow area here. On the other side we also have text missing around the logo. Top of the box on this KO is completely missing the design and writings, and same goes for the bottom. And also, as you can see on the inside, there is no cardboard backdrop behind the figure, and that's something that original does have. So those are some of the obvious differences, but now let's open up the box and let's see what we are dealing with here. So here he is out of the box, and I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised how good this figure looks and feels. It's sturdy and the joints are nice and tight, but not too tight, so I don't feel like something will break. And right at the top I have to say that I did have two issues that I want to mention here. The upper part of the torso was constantly popping off. It was really easy to separate it from the rest of the body, so I've decided to put just a drop of glue at the top of the joint inside, and I connected the torso. Now I didn't lose any movement because that joint is actually a ball joint connected down to the lower body, so the articulation is still there. I just wanted to prevent the upper torso from separating all the time. The other issue that I had was with his left leg popping off of the ball joint in the crotch, and so I've added a little bit of super glue on that ball joint just to give it a little bit of layer so that the friction is a bit better. And so now I fixed that issue. All in all, these are some minor issues that can be fixed easily, and when you are buying these cheap KOs, you should expect that you will probably have to do some customizing. Now it's also worth saying that when you are buying KOs, it all depends on your luck, because quality control with these figures is not as good as it is with the originals, obviously. So it all depends from, you know, one knockoff to the other, from figure to figure, what will you get. So your copy doesn't have to have the same issues that mine had. Obviously, as you can tell from what I've mentioned at the beginning of the video, I don't have the original, so I can't compare this KO to the official one, but from what I saw online, this guy is a bit smaller, and that is something that we usually see with these bootlegs. The other difference is that the ball joints in the shoulders, wrists and ankles should be in this same black color that we see on the suit. And as you can see, especially here in the shoulders, they are not. And also, these two small Revoltech ball joints on the belt should be in this same brown color as the rest of the belt. From my understanding and from what I saw online, there are versions of this bootleg that do have those joints in the correct color. Unfortunately, I didn't get one of those, but I don't really see these things as issues, because I can easily repaint those parts myself. And since I'm talking about the paint, let's take a closer look, because I want to show you that it's really not perfect. And again, that's what you expect when buying bootlegs. You can see that there is a lot of paint bleeding, and that's the kind of issue that you can see on a lot of parts of this figure, here and then here and then here in the back as well. And then you can also see that the chest piece piece has a different, kind of a darker shade of red, so that is noticeable. Same can be seen on the back of the figure, where this upper part has a different shade of red from the rest of the suit. And again, you should expect those issues when you are buying bootlegs, but I can always repaint those parts if that really bothers me. But in terms of the overall sculpt and movement, I'm really impressed with this figure. So far, it's one of the best knockoffs that I've seen, and I can only imagine how good the original is. The overall sculpt looks good, even though it's probably a bit softer than on the original figure. The head sculpt looks really nice, and I love the fact that we can see the nose and the mouth poking out through the mask. In terms of the overall look of this guy, this is obviously not the Ryan Reynolds movie Deadpool that we used to seeing recently. This is more of his comic book look, so he is more muscular and has those superhero proportions. So after all of this, let's now check out his articulation, because that's the one thing about which I'm mostly excited on this guy, because even though this is a KO, it is still a Revoltech KO. So again, let's check out his articulation. As I already mentioned earlier, Revoltech figures are known for their crazy articulation range. These figures are made for people who love to pose action figures, who love to put them in all kinds of crazy action poses, and I would say that I'm one of those people. But I think that what turned me off on some of the early Revoltech Marvel and DC figures was the look of the joints. Figures looked so bad in any type of vanilla neutral pose, and the joints looked so ugly. The gaps on articulation points were just too much for me. But in time, these figures started growing on me, and I finally came to my senses that they have to look like that in order for you to be able to put them in extreme poses. They are not meant to be displayed in a dull vanilla pose. And now, all these years later, Amazin Yamaguchi got even better with their design, so now, even though the joints are still visible, they don't look as bad as they did before. And that's even when you put a figure in a vanilla pose. So moving forward with his articulation, the head can rotate 360, you get a nice tilt, he can look down all the way and up all the way. Look at this. And there's even this little piece that covers the gap, so this is a nice look. And then obviously the neck has a joint of its own, so that gives you an extra range of movement. He doesn't have a standard butterfly joint, but there is a cut here on these two shoulder parts, let's call them. So here you get forward and backward movement. And then in the shoulders we have a standard Revoltech joint that gives you a great range of movement. So here you basically get the movement of a butterfly joint. The arm rotates 360, you can hear that ratchet joint. Arm also goes out all the way, and together with this cut and this Revoltech ball joint, this guy can put his arm across his chest practically all the way, and that is something that I love about this figure. You also get a rotation on that joint, and then you also get a bicep swivel, and then another swivel in the elbow, and the elbow bends all the way. Wrists also swivel, and they do move in any direction depending on how you turn the small ball joint that is covered with this floating black piece on the wrists. For the torso we have two cuts, one is up here and the other one is down here. So this upper one gives you a slight forward and back crunch and side to side rotation, a little bit of tilt, and then the lower cut gives you even better movement side to side and crunch and rotation. So with those two joints this guy can crunch this far, and back bend is a little bit restricted, but for me I mostly wanted this forward crunch. I think that this is much more important than going back. These pouches are floating pieces that can be removed, and they are on these small Revoltech joints, and the plastic out of which they are made is extremely soft. This is like a rubbery type of plastic, so you will have to adjust the pouches every time you pose this figure, but that is something that you also have to do on the original. I'm just not sure that the plastic of these pouches on the original is this rubbery. And so again, with those small ball joints, these pieces can be moved out of the way. The hips are kind of limited in terms of pushing the legs towards each other. I think that this is as far as you can go, but the legs do go out all the way. They move forward this much, although they do curve out when you put them forward like this. And then they bend back this much. There is a tie cut, double bend in the knees, and we have a boot rotation and a little bit of tilt. Ankles rotate, they move forward this much, back this much. We have a generous ankle pivot and a nice toe joint. And there is a Deadpool logo at the bottom of his feet, which I think is funny. So as expected, this guy has a great range of articulation, and that's something that I'm really excited about because I will have a lot of fun posing this guy for his posing video. Now, let's take a look at his accessories. This guy comes with a lot of stuff. You basically get everything that original has. First, he comes with 6 pairs of interchangeable hands. Fisted hands with holes are already on the figure. You get a pair of open hands with these small holes that I'm not sure what they are for because you don't get anything that can plug into them. Maybe a small Revoltech joint, and obviously I don't have their Captain America, but maybe his shield can be plugged into these holes, and so maybe you can pose this Deadpool like he is holding or throwing Captain America's shield. So maybe that has something to do with that. You get a pair of thumbs up hands, a pair of side holding hands, and I just realized that I got 2 right hands. So that is a shame, but again, that's something that you can expect when you are buying bootlegs. So I'm not sure how this will look if I put one of these right hands on his left arm. It will look really strange. Of course, you do get size with this guy, and we'll get to that in a moment. You get 2 trigger finger hands, and luckily these are left and right hands, but you can see on the right one that the paint is really bad. The left one is a bit better, so that is good. And as I said before, I can always repaint this and make it look better. And then he comes with a pair of finger pointing hands, and as you can see, these are different because these are meant to be used for his mobile phone. This one for holding it, and then this one for touching the screen. And he also does come with his mobile phone, and we'll see that in a moment as well. And when you are switching out the hands, it is easy to do. You just pop off this one, and just be careful not to lose this wrist piece, because as you can see, these wrist pieces are sculpted separately, so be careful not to lose them. He comes with 2 sword sheets that can be plugged into his back, and then his 2 katanas, his 2 swords that are nicely painted. And I think that on the original the handle has a little bit of red color inside of these crystals, but the swords can go into the sheets. Just be careful when sliding them in so that you don't break the sword. It slides in like this, and the sheets can be plugged into his back. As you can see, we have these holes, and there is actually no rules on how to use these. I mean, you can plug the swords here if you want. You can do whatever you want. And so now we have our Deadpool with his swords plugged in. And of course, you can move them like this so that they are crossing over each other. And so this is the kind of look that you get. And for him to be able to hold the swords, you will need to use his trigger finger hands, because he doesn't come with any other hands that are specifically made for holding the sword. Fortunately, I think that this being a bootleg works in favor of this figure, because you see this imperfection on the handle here? That actually goes in this guy's favor, because that makes it possible for you to lock the handle inside the hand, and so now the sword is not loose. And from what I saw on the original, that's not the case. These swords easily fall out of his hands on the original. So this is something that is actually a plus for this being a bootleg, and for that handle having that imperfection. So that's good. As already mentioned, he comes with 2 oversized size that do look good with this silver metallic paint and a purple handle. And as I already said, these hands, of which I got 2 of the same ones, are meant to be used with these size. So slide the handle in like this, and then these 2 fingers will grip the side here at the top, and you can reverse it obviously, like he's holding it like this. So that will give you a nice dynamic look as well. He also comes with two oversized knives that have a kind of leaf looking blades. He comes with two pairs of futuristic looking guns, a bigger pair that he can hold in his hands, and then a pair of smaller guns that have a hole in them, and in comparison to the first pair you can see the size difference. This guy also comes with detachable holsters. You can peg them inside of the holster like this, and you can see the strap going up here, and then you can obviously plug the holster inside of peg holes, so you have one up here on the strap, but then this pouch piece can be pulled out, and so you can plug your gun holster down here instead, and that gives you this look. A minus with this method is that they gave you two of the holsters that go in the same direction, and I know that this is not a bootleg problem. It's not the same as my problem with two right hands. This is actually what the original gives you as well. This pouch can also be removed, but when you plug in the gun, it will go in the wrong direction. You would probably want him to have his guns like this if you want to recreate what we see in the movies, but unfortunately you can't do that. What you can do is maybe plug this other holster up here on this strap, which is also good, you know. There are three alternate heads, 4 heads total, and all of them are full head sculpts, not just face plates or just interchangeable eyes. And the great thing is that the eyes do pop out, so you can interchange them and play around with face expressions, and all 4 of these have different face expressions. As you can see, this one on the figure is the most serious one, and then this one is not that well painted. They missed this eye here, so I will probably have to fix that myself, but this is like his having his squinting eyes, then a head with surprised look, open eyes and mouth, and I love this expression. This is so Deadpool. You also get a head that has hearts for his eyes, and again sculpted mouth. It will be a lot of fun to pose this guy with all of these accessories, but that's not all, because you also get a smaller tray with some more accessories. So here you get 2 more sets of interchangeable eyes. These are the angry eyes, and then another pair of squinting eyes. There is also this tool that you can use for poking out the eyes, so it's good that they included that. There is also this extension for his sword sheets. With this, it should be even easier to plug the sheets in a way that they are going over each other. Now we're gonna use this hole here in the middle of his back, and this is how that looks. He comes with 2 more smaller knives. These look a bit more realistic than the first one that we saw, and here is a comparison. You also get sheets for these knives that unfortunately are not just badly painted, but they don't have pegs, just small circles where the pegs should have been. You were supposed to peg these into the ports on Deadpool's body. He does have ports for those knife sheets, as you can see here on his boots, both sides, or wherever you want to do that. Unfortunately, you can't do that because the pegs are missing. And then a third problem with this, I know that is just too many problems to have with such small pieces, but you can't slide the knife inside because this is the closed, filled up piece of plastic. So these 2 pieces are completely useless, unless of course you want to glue them on. And then he comes with dynamite that looks fairly simple, and he also comes with his mobile phone that has a nice print on the screen here, like he's texting someone, and on the back we have a nicely printed Deadpool logo, and I love that. This hand is meant to be used for the phone, and then he can, scroll and text and everything. So this is a great addition. This has a lot of play value, and I love the fact that they included it in this set. And finally, you also get a translucent stand that you have to assemble. Let's now compare this guy to some other figures. Here he is with 2 movie versions of Deadpool. On the left we have Marvel Legends, and on the right we have SH Figure Arts version. Here he is with 2 AliExpress bootlegs. On the left we have the Mayfax Deadpool KO, and on the right we have AliExpress Marvel Legends juggernaut. Here he is with two Marvel Legends figures. On the left we have movie Logan, and on the right we have X-Men 97 Wolverine. Here he is with two Mafex figures. On the left, classic Spider-Man, and on the right we have the X-Force Wolverine. And finally, here he is with the latest Mafex Mandalorian and the Black Series Imperial Stormtrooper. So, after all said, would I recommend this Revoltech 2.0 Deadpool bootleg? I would say yes, for a few reasons. If you can't afford the original, this is a great deal. For around 20 bucks or euros, you are getting an amazing Deadpool figure and you'll have a great time posing it around, especially with all those crazy accessories that it comes with. Also, if you are into customizing, this will be a great figure to get because you are not spending a lot of money and you can repaint this guy and make him look even better or use him for spare parts. So this figure is affordable, looks good, poses beautifully, and you can get a lot of play value for your money. Yes, there are some downsides as well. There are some issues that can be expected on a bootleg, like paint imperfections and some joints needing an additional modification, but all of that is not that hard to do. Bigger issues are when you get two right hands like I did, and when you get holsters like knife holsters that can't be used on this figure at all. Those can be considered as bigger issues, but you are paying a low price for a bootleg figure that in this case turned out to be pretty good. I'm really satisfied with this KO. I'm in love with the articulation range and all of the posing options. I can't stop messing around with this figure. This is one of those figures that you always have on your working table so that you can put it in a different pose whenever you want, and it looks really good on the shelf. All in all, I would recommend this bootleg, but those were just my thoughts, and now I would love to hear yours. What do you guys think about this KO? Do you have it, or do you maybe plan on getting it after seeing this video? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Stay tuned for a posing video for this guy because, man, I will have so much fun making that video. I'm afraid how many hours I will need to put into that video because this guy has endless posing options. As always, a special thank you goes out to my Patreon supporters. Their names are always displayed at the end of the video. Those people are helping me to keep the channel alive. And of course, to all the rest of you guys, thank you so much for watching, thank you for being here, and I'll see ya in the next video.